Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. In today's video, we're going to be going over one of the default aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and that is the Cirrus Vision Jet G2. This is a single-engine aircraft, able to be rated for single-pilot use. We're going to go over the exterior. We're going to hop in the cockpit. We're going to take a look around, show you some of the features on this aircraft, and we'll take it up into the air, get a feel for it, do a traffic pattern, and come back down and land. After that's all said and done, I will give my thoughts and opinions on the aircraft. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the outside. So taking a look at the outside, we have a few liveries to choose from. I chose the black one. I like the way it looks with the contrast white on the leading edge of the wings and then the red on the wingtips over there. I thought that was kind of cool. So I turned on the visual aids. Because this is a default aircraft, you will have things you do gotta check, like your nose strut, tires, landing gear, all that stuff. You also have to uncover the pedal covers and the engine up top there. Moving around to the back of the aircraft, you can actually grab these things and move them around as you would. When checking an aircraft like this, you can open up the baggage door. There's a few things you can do on this aircraft on the outside. So one of the cool things about this is it's called the rudder vader. So this acts as a rudder, as well as it helps maintain pitch for the aircraft. If we see we move it around, it's pretty cool. And we have the engine right up front there on top of the aircraft. So a couple more things you can see. Again, I have visual aids. So there's three things you got to check. You got to check the tire, the actual strut itself for the landing gear, and then the landing gear brakes. Then you have the flaps as well that you can check. Up close, it does look pretty good. Now for a default aircraft, this kind of is impressive, but you can kind of see where some of the textures do begin to fall off with like the rivets and the screws and such. But that's to be expected. You're not here for the exterior, you're here for how it flies. So, let's go on around. Let's open up the cockpit door. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and take a seat. So the door automatically closes when you do sit down, as you can hear. And now it's all closed up. So taking a look around, we have two displays here. We have your primary flight display, and then your MFD. Now, this aircraft is equipped with Garmin G3000 avionics, so if you have flown aircraft with these avionic systems before, then this would be pretty familiar to you. Now, this has been changed just a little bit just to make it easier for the Vision Jet. It's set for the Vision Jet here. So while we're inside, we will go from left to right. So over here on the left-hand side, we have a few switches. Your hours down here, a convenience light, which is always set to automatic. Over here you have some circuit breakers, which unfortunately you cannot tinker with. Over here is our flight controls. It's similar to an Airbus. You have a side stick. Over here, this is your engine knob. You put it to the run position, and just like a car, it does have an engine start-stop button, which I thought is kind of cool. Moving over here, obviously, as I said, we have our PFD and our MFD. And then zooming in a little bit, we have some switches down here. This controls a few of the important aspects of our aircraft. Electrical over here, 2 batteries, 2 generators. Your lights as you need them. strobe lights, landing lights, oxygen switch, what type of air supply source you need, and probe heat if applicable. Ice protection as you need it, and an operative button right there. Now this button right here, this little knob, you can control the instrument lighting, so if you're flying at night and the instruments are a little too bright for you, you can use that knob and turn them down as you wish. Checklist thumb wheel right here, so that we will get to momentarily. Looking up over here, backup display, it's inoperative, and then your barometric pressure for the PFD. Coming down here to the 3 screens here, so this screen here controls your PFD. This is like the customization, so you can put up some aspects that you need here. You can put up your traffic map if you want it, if you want your minimums, what your minimums to be, bearings, what your nav source you want it to be, speed bugs, timers, and map settings for your PFD. Moving over here to the center screen, now this is where you will do the initialization for your aircraft, and this also has all of the other settings and important data that you would want displayed. So we can put the map on, we can traffic, the weather, your TAWS system, stuff for your navigation and your flight plan, charts, and we have different settings to choose from here for aircraft systems. So if there are things that you want to see, what the batteries are doing, fuel, all that stuff, it's all available through the aircraft systems. And you can put checklists up. That comes back to our wheel here when you have that operative. And a couple extra utilities, performance for doing the initialization and whatnot. So if we go back to initialization, you would follow the steps through here. Fuel, weight and balance, flight plan. Make sure your flight plan matches what you have on either your EFB here or SimBrief. And takeoff data as you need it, and then you would accept your initialization. Over here on the right hand side, this is for your comms. So over here is where you will put in not only the frequency for whichever controller you were talking to, this also deals with your altimeter as well. So we have it at 1200 for VFR. So you can tell it's a nice day out. Over here to the right, temperature controls, everything like that. Now these knobs, depending on how you have the aircraft set up, so if you want to have the map, you can use these knobs and you can zoom in or out on like the maps and such, so on and so forth. Moving down here towards the center console, this is all the things for your autopilot, so a heading bug, approach, here's your autopilot button itself. Flight level change is right here. The level mode, VNAV, altitude hold, and vertical speed. Everything that you would need to control the autopilot. Moving down a little bit more. Flaps, 2 positions here, 50% for takeoff, 100% for landing. Throttle is right here. And then what you need for the auto throttle. So you can have it set to the FMS, where the FMS will control what speeds you want, or you can have it manually, and then you would use this scroll wheel right here, and you can adjust the speed as needed. Pitch trim right here as applicable, however you want to set it, and then fuel control, which tank you want it to be on. And then over here to the right, again, more circuit breakers, you can't mess with them, and then the co-pilot's flight controls. Your autopilot disconnect is the red button there. Moving up, above, we have a couple knobs for lighting, cabin lighting, and then your fire discharge, mask mic, so if this is for the oxygen masks, unfortunately you cannot mess with those. Your caps activation handle goes right here, and then you can actually put in a safety pin just like that. Over here you have an emergency exit. You can put a pin there. And in the back, there's a couple things you can do. Safe return mode, fan control for your rear climate, and a couple switches for cabin lighting, and so on and so forth. Overall, it's very, very simply laid out. It's very, very easy to understand once you get yourself familiarized with the avionics and just kind of where everything is. This aircraft is very easy to get moving. Now, with this being a default aircraft, you can use the Control E method to start the aircraft up, or you can do it manually should you wish. So the engine knob, here the fuel pump priming. There it goes. There's a little bit of a sound bug with this, where sometimes you think you missed something and you actually didn't. Like, it will begin the engine start sequence, you'll hear it come alive for a second, and it just stops, like you just heard. And you think, oh, I might have missed something. No, it's just a little sound bug. I don't think it'll get fixed. It would be cool if it did. But that's how easy it is to start this aircraft. You can do it with the Control E method, or just put this thing to run and engine start stop. Can't get any simpler than that. So now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing up into the air. So we're going to do it live. Parking brake off, and we're going to get moving here. Takes a little bit to get it going, which I'm not really a fan of. You kind of got to give it some thrust there. But the reason why I like this thing is how small it is. And you're going to see this when you get moving, to get up in the air. You don't need a lot of runway to get going. So I'm actually going to do a very short taxiway takeoff here. So I'm going to go over to the left onto this taxiway, and then I'm just going to get onto the runway, and we're going to go. So I'm going to get my flaps set up. This aircraft is very, very easy to taxi. Very good turning circle. I'm barely using the rudder. I'm using the rudder pedals for this. My flight controls, it is set in a way to where I can use the flight stick and it'll be able to turn left or right, as you can see here, because it's set up for helicopters as well. You can see right there, we have not met the cabin LFE. That's okay. We're not going too high. Alright, let's go ahead and get our landing and strobes on. Go ahead, we're going to get on the runway. See, we're gonna get on the runway very, very late into the runway itself. So if I actually open up a map here, zoom in, we're probably not even going to use all of that. Alright, here we go. Here's the nice thing about this aircraft. You don't need a lot of speed to get going. Look at that. Under 100 knots, we're up in the air. Let's get the gear up. Gear is now up. You hear an audible thud of the gear going up there. Let's retract our flaps. So this aircraft is a very, very fantastic introduction to jet aircraft. If you are flying around in prop aircrafts, and it would be single engine or twin props, and you want to move on to a jet-powered aircraft, this one is a fantastic step forward. Reason being is it's not that fast, which can be a hindrance if you actually want to take this thing pretty far. It's going to take a little bit of time to get there compared to another jet like Citation or the new Phenom 300. This only has a cruising speed of about 305 knots, which when you look at it, that's not that fast. You know, there are some turboprop aircraft that have a higher cruising speed. And the service ceiling is not that high. It's about 31,000 feet. And the range is not that great. You can get maybe 1,200 nautical miles out of it. But with the aircraft, just as a raw aircraft as it is, to get up in the air and learn how a jet aircraft handles and performs, how the engine responds to your inputs. This is an absolutely fantastic aircraft to learn. It has the same flight dynamics as a smaller prop aircraft, but you can also get into the speed. Just like this, you can get into the speed of what a jet aircraft can do. Sitting here flying it, you don't really need to put too much effort into the flight controls. So I'm just maybe giving 15% on my joystick here. Slowing us down because we're going to be entering a left base here momentarily. So just slowing down. Aircraft feels very stable. I'm actually going to take my hand off the flight controls. I do not have my hands on the flight controls. I do have my hand on the throttle. That's all I have my hand on. Just to maintain speed under about 130-ish knots. This aircraft is very, very stable. It responds to your control input very well. Now there are some times where it can be pretty twitchy. If you allow the aircraft to become unstable in flight, that's when you're going to start seeing it twitch. But this aircraft is amazing to fly. I'm not really one to really fly the default aircraft. I don't really mind flying default aircraft. I've been flying a lot of the payware stuff, but there are a few exceptions. This is one of them. Now, if I want to do traffic patterns, do some touch and goes, but I don't want to fly a prop aircraft, I'll use this. If I want to do really short takeoff and landing sequences, I'll use this. Now, this aircraft is capable of doing very short takeoff and landing sequences on short fields because it has such a low landing speed and takeoff speed. that allows this aircraft to get into some places that not very many other aircraft, especially jet-powered aircraft, will be able to get into. And I'm going to overbank the aircraft here, and you can see just, even still, it's stable. We are getting a warning here, because we are getting a little low. Well, we're just flying around. And it says here, landing gear is up, just because we're about 600 feet off the ground. That's okay. We're flying, we're just enjoying the aircraft. But you can see we're 120 knots, the aircraft is stable. Feels great to fly. We're going to give us power. We're going to get away from that landing gear warning here. But man, it's just so good. A lot of the manufacturers of these aircraft, for the flight simulator, they miss a few things. This one, I think they did okay. The autopilot functions as it should when you put in your flight plan correctly. It flies very well. It's very stable. I really don't have too many complaints on this aircraft as it is. The only issues that this aircraft would really have is, for the most part, it's too slow for a jet, the service ceiling, and the range. And if you want to go somewhere quickly, you have other aircraft available, but as a learning aircraft, this is fantastic. Get yourself used to flying jets. If you've flown, as I said before, if you've flown other aircraft with the G3000 avionics, you're already going to be familiar with this stuff. This is all going to look familiar to you, which is what makes it so incentivizing to step into an aircraft like this. Just being able to, you're already in something that feels a little bit familiar, but it's a little bit different. So there are some small quirks you got to get used to. But it's a great learning tool. Very simple to start. The starting sequence is extremely easy. And if you are pressed for time, you do have the Control-E method, which I know there are some people who prefer to use the Control-E method. And that's completely okay. But if you want to go from cold to dark and ready to go, this aircraft does it. We're going to come in on the shorter runway here. We're going, I believe this is 9 left. Coming in a little high just because I was rambling on and just kind of flying the aircraft, just enjoying the aircraft. Didn't really set up for a proper traffic pattern. Try to get us lined up with the Pappies here. Here we go. Now we're starting to get into it. Now look. Under 100 knots here. They're under 100 knots. Just gonna let it come down. Very nice and easy. Look at that. And that's what makes this aircraft so easy to learn on. You come in at a low approach speed, you don't need to worry about being too fast. This aircraft can do it. Low approach speed to make it easier to get into different airports. Low takeoff speed so you can get out of the airports. Very simple, easy to use, easy to fly. Let it come to a stop here, just like that. So the overall takeaway, what is it? As a default aircraft, this checks pretty much all the boxes that I am looking for in a functioning aircraft. The instrumentation is laid out very well. Everything is simplified. It's easy to pick up, easy to learn. From the avionics to the autopilot panel. Even it's simplified down to what flaps you need for takeoff and landing. How is it to start the aircraft? Like, again, two things. You just put it on run and start the engine. Other aircraft, you gotta select your fuel pumps. You gotta make sure that your APU is on if it has one, that the lead is on. Then you gotta have your ignition turned on, and then select the engine that you wish to start. There's a little more involved. This is just turn a knob, click the button, and it fires right up. This aircraft is absolutely fantastic for someone who is wanting to get introduced to jets. You have the jet feeling. You could get up to the speed of some of the jets, but at the same time, you can stay at the speed of your familiar single and twin prop aircraft. It feels as nimble as one. It responds like one. Very stable, easy to fly, easy to learn, land, take off, and just get set up. So let me know down in the comments what you think of the Vision Jet. I like this thing a lot. Do I like it more than the Phenom that I've been flying? No. The Phenom is just leagues better. If you haven't seen my video on that one, go watch it. It's really, really good. But I'm not going to get too far into that. Make sure to leave a like on the video, and also make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so when other videos do go live. So that'll do it. The Vision Jet, fantastic aircraft, fantastic starter aircraft for jet introduction. Can't get any better than that. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.